I think a lot of people, especially listening to this podcast, are aware on some level of, I need to just surrender. I need to just relax. But they might feel like, I don't know why I just can't. It feels like almost like this addiction to this pattern, right? And I think a lot of people are kind of in that space of maybe mentally knowing, like, I know I need to just surrender. I need to calm my system down or listen to my body, but why do I keep not? And so for that person, I mean, why is it that we get in that space? And how do we get out of that?
Hmm. Well, in part of the reason that we are in that space is because we've been trained to occupy that space, and we've developed chronic patterns over decades. Most of us engaging in this conversation are not, infants. So we've been at this a very long time, and we've trained neurological and nervous system to accommodate this as a way of being. Unfortunately, it's depleting us. So it's a way of being that doesn't sustain. That's the problem with it. Worse than being unsustainable, it actually does legitimate ongoing damage, which is also something that most of us on this path have discovered as part of how most of us ended up on the path, I'd imagine, right? So the reason why we're there is because we've been trained to act this way, to meet our lives in the same way and by means of the same strategies that any artificial man-made construct in all of our modern experience is built. And this is a part of what level 2 of the Forgotten Sense reveals, by the way. It draws a distinction between the life processes, organic life process of a tree, and the man-made strategic processes of a building. Well, we've been taught to meet life much more like a building, like an artifice, than like a plant. But we are plants. We are expressions of nature. We are not built by bricks. We are built by organisms, right? We are a direct expression of relationship. So our whole entire way of being, our whole entire way of life is demanding an alteration. But there's really no model for that alteration out there. There's no human model. No, that's not fair. There are very few human models, and you really have to look for them, right? The model itself is nature. You can't miss it, but we're not taught to look there. And so what we have as models are demonstrating this heavily effortful or mentally focused, strategic, linear pattern of growth that hustles and achieves and climbs the mountain in order to arrive at the peak. The problem is that even those people who are capable of this are not accessing fulfillment. So even when it works, it doesn't work. So something is deeply flawed with our entire method of relating to life itself, which is what has led me over and over again to the fundamental layers of experience. It's not going to be about our beliefs about money. It's not going to be about what we're doing professionally. It's not going to be about our relationship to our family. It's not going to be about any of those things individually. It will somehow include them all. It somehow holds all of those things. So we need to get under them, but we're not taught to do that. So this is for those of you who are, like Christina said, aware to some extent that you have to surrender. The problem is that the idea of surrender is only an idea. It gets stuck in this net of concept, right? And so we read about it and we talk about it and we listen to podcasts about it and we think really hard, and we're up there pecking at that window. Got to surrender, got to surrender, got to surrender. And that's what we can see. That's the open air on the other side. But for the life of us, we can't figure it out. And all I can tell you is that life was kind enough to give me the answer. And I'm putting that in quotation marks, but I'm not being facetious and I'm not being cute. That is the truth in my world. And it's what I'm here to do. Like, that's it, to deliver this answer over and over and over again. There is no hard work here. Life will do itself through each one of us. It'll do it all. Everything we're working so hard for, life can handle, always has, always will. It's a guarantee. Our only job is to remember how to open and allow life to move us rather than trying to push ourselves through life. Life doesn't need our help. So how can we relax? That's the answer. And it is physical. And that is where it becomes really simple. So if you can continually return to your body and ask whether you're tight or soft, whether your heart is closed or open, whether there is tension or relaxation, you will have something. That's the path.
So timely as well, because I feel like I'm having this conversation with so many people in my
Uh-huh.
ecosystem, especially in the last few weeks. It feels like a
And
lot
why?
of people are hitting this point where, because I'm hearing different versions of it, and I think where it's really stood out for me, it has been just a number of people who really love what they do and like really love their lives. And then all of a sudden it's like I don't really know what's off, but all of a sudden I feel burnout. And and it's not as clear as a lot of these people have been on a track of like, whoa, I got burnt out because I was really in the wrong career or really with the wrong relationships and having gone through the experience of, realigning things and feeling like, oh, I have my energy back and things are flowing. But then once again, hitting this weird space of like I can't move forward in this way,
Hmm.
but I don't really know what the tangible thing is. And I think, what comes forward for me when you're talking is it's not maybe it's just about how we're related. It's how we're relating to life, right?
That's,
Like how we're being, rather than like the tangible, practical pieces.
yes, that's right. And so much of what I'm developing is attempting to supersede, subvert, even precede the mental effort that goes into trying to figure out the why, right? So you're chugging along, everything's good, and then you hit this wall, and all of a sudden, all of those processes that supported growth are failing you, and all of a sudden, the energy that you did have is lagging, and or flagging rather. You're running out of energy, right? And so the question for us in that moment is oftentimes, why is this happening? And I want to adjust that. I want to say, forget about why it's happening and ask what you need to do. Because, and that's a tricky question. What do I need to do? Because it'll often wrap right back into effort. And I'm saying that the single answer to that question in every case without fail on any point of any part of our life, the answer is always soften and open, soften and open. If we can get into this habit of hitting that wall and forgetting the need to know, forgetting the need to understand which trauma led us to this point or which chronic activity is hurting us, if we can simply soften and open, we gain access to awareness that we do not have when we've got those blinders on, that tunnel vision of tension. There's too much that we can't see when we're in a state of worry, when we're in a state of stress or anxiety. Once we've hit that wall, it's too late. That's where the body keys come in. And you know this from firsthand experience now, Christina. The body keys are not a conceptual system. It's not about figuring anything out. There are details you will learn, but those details are ultimately to support direct, proactive, and moment by moment application of very, very simple activities. So that's the answer to the question of what to do. And it's always easy, and it's always available, and it's always obvious.